Life path readings are a little different in that the focus is to help the individual understand clearly what their unique spiritual gifts are in their existence here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're particularly clairvoyant, that's something we're going to talk about in terms of their work here on earth, their service here on earth, might be their healing, how they can bring clairvoyance into their own personal healing journey, into their spiritual development. So the life path readings were really a way to just to help bring focus into a person's life around their particular skill sets, both in the normal ways we think of things, for example, playing piano, but also in terms of their spiritual gifts and how to apply them in their lives. People are looking for more in-depth perception about themselves.
Sure.
So the way that I do a reading is to begin meditating with that individual. So I take questions that you've submitted to me, and 3 questions, and then my own question, which is, what is your most fundamental spiritual gift? Into a deep meditation. And you're not there. So we can do this with, you could be in another country, and you and I could do this because you'd email your questions. When I'm in the meditative state, the advantage that I find is that I'm not picking up your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not picking up your desires or your fears unless they are significant to the reading itself.
Mm.
I'm connecting with you at your soul level. I'm connecting with your guides. I'm connecting with your relationship to spirit as you know spirit, or the divine.
Mm-hmm.
And I am one at a time asking those questions and then going in very deeply, much like Edgar Cayce did.
Mm-hmm.
Going into that trance state, pulling up the information, and then bringing it back to the individual. And then we would get together over the phone for another half an hour, and I would share with you what I discovered, as well as give you some insight about your gift and how to apply that to support you in your transformation.
Through your book, The Root of All Healing, and your webinars and your internet radio shows and in person, you do a lot of teaching about self-empowerment in one's spiritual and or healing journey. So why do you do readings?
That's a great question. I do readings because it's so difficult for us to see ourselves.
Mm.
And sometimes when we can get a little bit of outside perspective about who we are and what's going on for us, we get that little kernel of insight that does empower us, that allows us to move deeper into our self-mastery. So the readings are really my gift. That's my talent. That's what's been given to me, is the ability to see other people's gifts and to be able to recognize how one uses spiritual gifts in the physical world in a very practical and real way. So my intention with the reading is to empower the individual with insight and information about themselves that hopefully will allow them to carry themselves further in their journey, whether it's spiritual development or it's physical healing. They're getting what they need.
So often people have gifts that they're not actually tuned into yet.
Oh, yeah.
So, what kind of gifts are we talking about?
Oh,
here?
that's the great fun. For example, I knew one woman who saw auras from the time she was little. She thought everyone saw auras. And that is so true with our gifts. Very often they're innate to who we are. We've always had them. Our families weren't necessarily taught to look for spiritual gifts. We aren't living in the early indigenous cultures where the medicine person of the village or the shaman of the village was, in tuned to the little one being born and what their gifts were and what their abilities were, and teaching the parents how to coach the child in their spiritual development. So we have lost that connection. And that's something I find that through the readings I get to do is help people recognize the gifts that they really do have as being something special and unique. And in doing so, they recognize the power of the gift and how they could better utilize the gift.
Nice. Now, you said earlier that you have people email you 3 questions, and you meditate with those questions as well as the one that you have. And now, do they get a recording or something?
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking that. When we do the telecall, after I've done the meditation, we go to a line where I can record it for them and then make it available to them as an MP3, so they have it available.
Cool. The last question I wanted to ask you is, what do you most enjoy about the readings you do?
I absolutely love that moment when someone gets the aha. And it might be the big aha, like, you mean my dreams in 3D mean something significant? That's part of my gift? You mean everybody doesn't dream in 3D and bright color and, as though it's real? These are grand revelations to some people. Their uniqueness is a wonderful discovery. For others, it's more like a settling in aha, like, I have known that way deep down inside. I knew it, and now that you're saying it, I can claim it and I can own it, and I see how significant it is to my life. When someone recognizes in that moment of truth how powerful they are, how dear they are, and precious and beautiful they are, that's an experience of the divine. That's when you're connecting to the divine at your core. And that, for me, being witness to that and being able to support someone in that moment, that's pure heaven. And that's why I do the readings.
Misa, thank you so much for your time and the gifts that you bring to the world.
Thank you.